President Bola Tinubu inaugurates roads in Abuja, says his administration is investing heavily in infrastructure to stimulate economic growth.
Our nation is linked to the quality of infrastructure, connecting people, cities, and industry.
UN Commission for Africa meeting underway in Nigeria, focusing on innovation, AI, and creative industry in tourism.
Mokwa reconstruction. Niger State government awards 7 billion naira road projects from Mokwa to Raba.
And on this special edition of Good Morning Nigeria, we will focus on June 12 Democracy Day with multiple live coverage and studio presentation here in Abuja.
Well, it's June 12. Juma, where were you in 1993, June 12?
I was in Maiduguri and suddenly it happened.
Suddenly it happened.
It happened.
Okay. All right, so let's just start off. June 12 was adopted in 2018 by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari as Nigeria's Democracy Day in honor of the winner of June 12, 1993 presidential election, late Chief Moshood Abiola.
And indeed, Democracy Day is a national holiday in Nigeria to commemorate the restoration of democracy in 1999. And it's always celebrated on June 12 now. Until 2018, it was celebrated annually on May 29th, a tradition that has been held annually beginning in the year 2000.
Yeah, from the year 2000. This year, commemoration marks 26 years of uninterrupted democratic rule in the country. It is a day that embodies the essence of democracy, a celebration of our collective will, and a reminder of the power we hold as a nation.
Absolutely. And June 12th represents our historic journey to building a nation where truth and justice reign and peace is sustained and our future assured.
Our future assured. Jumai, the National Assembly will hold today a special joint sitting to commemorate this year's Nigeria Democracy Day with Mr. President in attendance. NTA multiple coverage and studio conversation will have Mitaira Ikpen bring live input and interviews from the National Assembly as one of our support staff. Similarly, Fisayo Gofoye will anchor conversation at our offsite studio live. That promises to be very thrilling. And at the National Assembly Gallery, we have Victor Azu will anchor conversation at our network news studio. I am Ademola Adeoye. Welcome you to this special edition of Good Morning Nigeria on Democracy Day.
A special edition indeed. And I am Juma Yusuf. Thank you for joining us. And we have an expanded edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We're reaching you live from our Good Morning Nigeria network studio here in Abuja. Shortly we'll join Chinenye Nwenye for the highlights of the morning news and much later newspaper review. Hello Chinenye, good morning.
Good morning, Juma. Good morning, Ademola. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the news. Demonstrating his understanding of importance of quality infrastructure to national development, President Bola Tinubu says his administration will continue to invest in infrastructure to stimulate general growth of the country. The president said this as he inaugurated Arterial Road N16 connecting the Shehu Shagari Way with the Wole Soyinka Way, Jahi, in Abuja.
This road will ease travel, congestion around central Abuja, and improved connectivity to developing districts such as Katampe and Jahi. It will stimulate housing and business growth while serving as a foundation for future city integration. We recognize that our nation's development is linked to the quality of infrastructure, connecting people, cities, and industries. There's no way industrialization will flourish without good roads.
The 68th UN Commission for Africa meeting is underway in Nigeria, focusing on innovation, AI, and creative industries in tourism. Vice President Kashim Shettima called on African countries to adopt policies that promote eco-friendly tourism and emphasize tourism's significance in economic diversification, citing its potential to create jobs, generate revenue, and promote cultural exchange.
Apart from its economic value, tourism has the potential to enhance local entrepreneurship and community development by supporting small businesses such as tour operators, local artisans, hospitality providers, and service industries. Tourism creates new opportunities for entrepreneurship.
The House of Representatives has reaffirmed commitment to enacting laws that truly reflect the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians. This pledge was made during a citizens' roundtable organized by the House leadership as part of activities to mark the midterm anniversary of the 10th Assembly.
Attention of the legislature to the extent that we included 3.52 trillion naira as the budget for the Ministry of Education, which is the highest. That's never happened before.
On the issue of the fumbling of JAMB and WAEC, the House is doing an investigation to ensure that they get to the root of this challenge.
Niger State government has awarded contract for the construction of a 12-kilometer road project from Mokwa to Raba, worth 7 billion naira. The governor also directed MDAs to undertake a complete survey of the waterways and topography of the state.
We have asked that everybody that lives on the water line, especially where we had the unfortunate flood incidents, to be evacuated. We're going to create banks so that people don't build on top of water lines. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of siltation of River Niger, and islands have been formed. A lot of people took it for granted. And this is one of the consequences of when people build on waterways.
Once, the sight of dark clouds over flood-prone towns like Hadejia, Berenin Kudu, and Gori signaled more than just rain. It foreshadowed devastation. Year after year, floods ravaged homes, submerged farmlands, and left communities grappling with loss. But now, a transformation is underway. In 2024, Jigawa State began rewriting its story, moving from reaction to readiness, from despair to resilience. As 2025 weather forecasts from NIMET raise fresh concerns, the state government is taking bold steps to protect its people and their future.
It's still under dredging. And also the river from Dabi to Guri, we are dredging it. And we are doing it year in, year out. We are working hard throughout the year to see that we have taken preventive measures to ensure that Allah, with the grace of Allah, we are safe from our flooding. Our farmland, our houses, our towns are safe from flood.
And those are the news highlights. Good Morning Nigeria Special Edition continues with Ademola and Jumei after these messages. Do stay.
From the ballot box to infrastructure, stronger institutions, and a brighter tomorrow. Democracy, it's not just about voting, it's about reforms that last, justice that works, and policies that empower. As Nigeria celebrates 26 years of democracy, it's time to consolidate the gains and embrace the necessity of enduring reforms. From transparency in governance, social interventions, increased state allocations, local government autonomy to student loans, healthcare incentives, and inclusive governance, every reform matters. Let's build a Nigeria where democracy works for everyone. A Nigeria where progress is not a promise, but a reality. A Nigeria consolidating on the gains of democracy, necessity of enduring reforms. This message is brought to you by the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Nigeria's 26th Democracy Day celebration.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Afam Bogeneka, Ebim Nagara Dimawa Village, Abuja, Nazo Afeba. So Esom Nandi register na NSR government register with my NIN. So government wears them ATM card. Njiwe wete 25,000 naira 3 times. And ega hayam keta barumuru na dem eji megoro makamihe. Jikweru mehendozo. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
Maliciously good, maliciously good. Now I can tell you any day that everything tastes better. It's Bama, maliciously good, maliciously good.
Maliciously good. A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership.
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
At NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new Technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer Management.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. It's now time for newspaper reviews. Stay with us.
Now, newspaper reviewer Chukudi Okolo Ubaja is seated here in the studio. Today is a special day, Happy Democracy Day.
It is a special day. You know, when I see people, whether it's AI generated promotional, you know, for the Burkina Faso leader and all that, I tell them, however bad you think civilian rule is, I opt for whom I voted for. Good luck to those of us who are in a democracy.
Yes, let's quickly go to the papers. Not much time today.
Morning, my dear.
I begin with the Blueprint newspaper. And above the masthead, NDIC begins payment of liquidation dividends to Premier Commercial Bank creditors. You find details on page 26 in the Blueprint newspaper. And just below the masthead, June 12, option A4 re-echoes as Ihedioha Marco Shehu extol Abiola Nwosu's virtues. With Rider, ex-presidential spokesman seeks better welfare for media workers. You find the details on page 8. And 2027 coalition against Tinubu will fail woefully. That's coming from the FCT Minister Wike. Says president's good work has killed opposition's alliance. You'll be warmly welcomed to APC, Tinubu tells Minister. Let's quickly go to the Pilot newspaper. And below the masthead, Anambra Gabo, Soludo orders candidates to pay 50 million naira for campaign billboards permit. Details on page 5. And Africa leads as global estimates for child labor drops to 138 million. And headlines you can see in the Pilot newspaper. June 12, national broadcast cancelled. With riders, Tinubu to deliver Democracy Day address directly from National Assembly chambers. Also cancelled is Democracy Day parade earlier scheduled to hold at Presidential Villa. There will be, however, public lecture on Democracy Day at the State House. And the lecture theme is Consolidating on Gains of Nigeria's Democracy, Necessity of Enduring Reforms. I think that's about what I have in the papers this morning. Let me quickly go to the CDS Democracy Day basketball. 16 teams, academies, jostle for honors in Abuja. I can't wait to watch that football match. I hope it will be live.
I trust you can
Mr.
wait.
Demola?
All right, I have the Daily Trust newspaper with me, and just below the nameplate, we have Hajj. 11 states spend 6.2 billion naira on pilgrims. Vehicles burned as tanker explodes on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. 41 killed in Plateau attacks in 1 week. And blackout in Northeast. Residents, business owners count losses. Then we have what June 12 means to us citizens. Details on page 15. Exclusion of North from infrastructure funding unacceptable. Passengers stranded at airport as Oshiomole airpiece clash. Fubara's lawmakers emoluments in rivers. 1.48 trillion budget. Ibas. Chooks.
June 12 is still a great message to this country.
Where were you
and
on
I'm
June
happy.
12, 1993?
June 12, I was running around, you know,
As usual.
getting reports.
Okay.
Do you know that in the past, how many years, this is when I left the newsroom, that I was able to start voting. This job, doctors, nurses, journalists, Look, so June 12th is a great message to Nigerians for the real substantiality of it. You know, belief in the country and democracy demonstrated so explicitly, so expressly that day. Genuine demonstration of Nigerianness. And the fact that the kind of people you throw up for voting could also motivate people. Abiola did something which I don't know whether any other Nigerian leader has caused across the spectrum of this country. So the question you ask is, what are those things we need to enthrone again to relive that experience? Because for me, we all have the franchise. We all have the mandate to vote and all that. But when people vote, I ask, are they voting in that sense of Nigerianness we want, or they're just performing a ritual? We must do everything we can in subsequent elections to re-enthrone those things that stood out June 12. Nobody is going to forget June 12.
I remember the excitement during the campaign, the jingles on TV and radio, you know, it was so captivating. And people really wanted to go out and vote. People knew what they wanted then, and democracy was at play.
Juma, I keep on talking about Ray Michael Nwachukwu. Who has replaced him in terms of fantastic jingles on television and radio?
Abiola had beautiful jingles then. And the fact that he went to every nook and cranny of this country to campaign.
Everybody say, make Nigeria better. I say, who go make them better?
Yes.
Now you and me and the toddler's voice. Look, great jingles are great jingles.
You remember that jingle with the bones? I said, now for my dog Bingo. You remember? The woman came to buy meat and then she said she didn't have money. She was buying bones.
Yes.
And they said, what is it for? I said, now for my dog Bingo. And she went like that, you know.
Those are great thinkers.
It resonated
in a
with
few
Nigerians,
words.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to Demola and her. And me. Don't you think we should take over from where Ray Michael Nwachukwu and the likes of it? But there's a wonderful one going on NTA now.
Yes.
I dance out.
We are Nigerians.
We are Nigerians.
Proudly Nigerians.
I think good ones are coming up. It's just that they are quite good. It's just that, you know, the times, you know, are changing, and
the focus is changing.
The focus is changing. People are coming up with new initiatives, and you know, the creativity is there. But what they just need is encouragement and all that. That's just it.
And the beauty of it all was, at that time, Nigerians there was no division in ethnicity, in tribe. There was no division in religion.
Yes.
It was like a fraught, like military walking straight on a straight line.
Like what you said, you know, Abiola was just like a symbol of unity.
That's the point.
Yes.
It was a symbol of
unity. That's the point of it.
He was
because
loved.
There was nowhere his impact was not felt. Everywhere all through the country. So that actually engendered many Nigerians to come out actually for that election.
How can you say you have changed the goalposts when the goal has been scored?
The kidney center we have in UMTH, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, was donated to that hospital by MKO Abiola. The kidney center, it still stands.
In Africa.
Yes, it still stands.
Is this sport you want to mention, or health, or education?
Where wasn't he? You see, Demola, when Nigerians say the things they say, when you see a good man, you know him. Abiola had a large heart. You could feel it. Yaradua, you could know there's goodness in this man.
Yes.
I pray that Nigeria gets leaders, or keep on getting leaders, so that we don't seem as if we're impugning
And
anybody,
when it happened,
elicit that kind of attraction from people concerning.
I always tell people when we
goodness.
discuss June 12th and the annulment of the election that Nigeria lost a moment that can never be recalled.
Is that from a novel you're crafting?
No, it's from my mind. We lost
Did you
a
hear
moment.
that?
Yes. It
I like
can never be
beauty.
recovered.
I like creation.
Not
I like creativity rather.
No matter how much.
Nigeria did what?
We lost a moment.
Let's expatiate that later, okay?
Yes.
Expand it.
Jumai on the move again.
Yeah, I am on the move.
That.
You know, I'm passionate about this country. I love Nigeria. It's not that
That's cerebral.
people like me never wanted to Japa. It's not that I didn't have the opportunities, but I felt the only place I can have freedom.
Two times. The drop box worked for me. I didn't even go the second time. I believed I could make it here.
Yes.
Well, in my mind, I make it. It's just that the pocket does not quite express what the mind,
No, you see, the life
shall
of a man,
push forward and we shall
the life of
restore.
a man is not measured by the quantity of goods that he has, but by the life that he has impacted.
Bless you.
So don't think about your pocket.
Let
Just
me
think
not
about
pollute what you have said now.
Okay,
So
Mr.
thanks,
Chukudi.
thanks,
Yes.
Chooks, so
Thank you
much.
so much for taking me back in time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So we'll take a break now. The conversation for our special June 12 program will start immediately after this break. Stay with us.
From the ballot box to infrastructure, stronger institutions, and a brighter tomorrow. Democracy, it's not just about voting, it's about reforms that last, justice that works, and policies that empower. As Nigeria celebrates 26 years of democracy, it's time to consolidate the gains and embrace the necessity of enduring reforms. From transparency in governance, social interventions, increased state allocations, local government autonomy to student loans, healthcare incentives and inclusive governance, every reform matters. Let's build a Nigeria where democracy works for everyone. A Nigeria where progress is not a promise, but a reality. A Nigeria consolidating on the gains of democracy, necessity of enduring reforms. This message is brought to you by the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Nigeria's 26th Democracy Day celebration.
All hail Jagaban, Nigeria's outstanding hero of democracy. The June 12 struggle birthed several heroes and heroines, some long dead and forgotten, and a few others lived to see the fruits of their sweat and toil. Indeed, the day June 12, now largely accepted as a watershed in our democratic experiment, was made possible by a few great men, like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who fought a hard and long-drawn battle to ensure that our democracy endures till date. As we commemorate June 12, which today represents our 26 years of unbroken democracy, it's only expedient that we honor those who stood up for the truth, equity, justice, and fairness doctrines, even at their own peril and detriment. On the occasion of June 12, I hereby join fellow Nigerians to pay homage to courage, honor, integrity, and uprightness which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu all represent. Happy Democracy Day, Nigerians. Happy Democracy Day, Mr. President. By IGP retired Mohammed Abubakar Adam, CFR.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We bet solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Each ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industry, industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
I want to play!
Survey says. If my phone rings at 2 a.m., it's probably
My mom.
an emergency. Landlord.
Achaluko. I will give you 1.5 million. After you smile finish, I will add extra 1.5 million just for you to move around. I will not add extra 2 million naira. Just for you to call me your dogu.
Family Feud Nigeria Season 3 is officially live.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
Pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025, only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, This represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.04% from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and measurable.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. It's Democracy Day, special edition of Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Just before we bring in our guest for our conversation on June 12th, Democracy Day, let's take this background report by Joseph Osei.
Nigeria today, June 12th, celebrates the return from military rule to current democratic dispensation. Former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2018 declared it the new Democracy Day for Nigeria to honor late Moshood Abiola, popularly known as NKO Abiola, the winner of the annual 1993 presidential election under Social Democratic Party (SDP). Before then, Nigeria since 1999 commemorated the restoration of democracy on May 29th. But what makes June 12th significant in Nigeria's democratic journey? To political analysts, it is the civic resilience and sacrifices made by the Nigerian people, especially organized civil liberty movements, who pressured the then military government to return the country to democratic rule. A movement that eventually pressured the then military head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, to bow and allow the country to hold an election widely considered as the most credible in the nation's history.
That it is possible to challenge a dictatorship, a totalitarian system, and defeat it. And that we cannot give up on Nigeria.
An estimated 14 million Nigerians, irrespective of ethnic, religious, class, and religious affiliations, defied all odds to elect their president with the hope of ending 8 years of military dictatorship. But before a winner of the presidential election was to be announced, General Ibrahim Babangida decided to annul the election, citing irregularities in the electoral process.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was in fact a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation before the actual voting began.
The annulment did not sit down well with many Nigerians, and Abiola, who contested against Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention, NRC. Abiola went ahead to declare himself winner and promised to fight for the mandate, as many civil liberty groups took to protest, asking the military regime to declare the outcome of the election.
It will continue off and on until the military release the result of the June 12 election and put the democratically elected president, who is myself, in charge of affairs.
Abiola was arrested and much later died in detention in 1998. Yet the struggle for democracy continued from 1993 to 1999, when Nigeria had its return to democratic governance.
June 12 happened under my watch.
Early this year, Babangida presented another version of the event in his autobiography, A Journey in Service, launched in Abuja, where he acknowledged that late NKO Abiola won the election and that he regretted its annulment. A testimony that vindicates all those who believe that Abiola won, those that stood firm in the struggle for democratic rule, and to others, a justification for the declaration of June 12 as Democracy Day for Nigeria, as it symbolizes truth, justice, and national unity.
Thank you so much, Joseph Astain, for that background report on June 12, Democracy Day. And seated here in the studio this morning, we have Dr. Adoyi Omale. He's a public affairs analyst, political scientist, June 12 activist, former president, ABU Students' Union government, and during the June 12 struggle. You were there live and direct. Thank you so much for joining us.
You were doing Aluta.
Yes.
Aluta continue.
Yes, Aluta continue. And also seated here in the studio is Honorable Ahmed Sajo, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy at Adamawa State. He was also live on part.
I was a local government secretary, so we handled the elections.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this special edition
Okay, thank you very
Good
much.
Morning Nigeria on June 12th.
Thank you.
And from Geneva live, joining us from Switzerland is Comrade Issa Aremu. Is the DG CEO Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies. He's attending the 113th International Conference of ILO Annual Conference. Comrade, good morning.
Yeah, Demola and Jumai, happy Democracy Day. And I can see Alaji Selaji, my very good co-commentator. Greetings from Geneva.
Thank you very much. Before we just commence our conversation this morning, we just want to remind you, viewers, that today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria have multiple coverages and studio conversations. So we'll be taking you to different studios for the coverage this morning. But let's start from our studio here on Good Morning Nigeria. Well, Dr. Male, let's have your perspective on June 12th.
Well, June 12th is a watershed in Nigerian political history. Watershed because it marked for the first time what we have all been craving for: national unity and integration, Muslim ticket, North-South ticket, Abiola Kingibe ticket. Nigerians spoke with one voice, from the north to the northwest, to the northeast, to the southwest, to the southeast, everybody in unison for the first time. Even Tofa, who was from Kano, the entire north voted overwhelmingly for Moshood Abiola. And as young people, when they invested in, as the anchor introduced me, as young people who were growing up at that time, I was at the Ahmadu Bello University, we felt what was the matter with the election. The primaries were well organized, option A4, people queued behind the candidates of their choice. The National Assembly was in place, the governors were in place, and it was just to have a president so that the system can run democratically smoothly. And all of a sudden, the military cabal, the military junta, out of the blues, just truncated the aspirations, the hopes that Nigerians have put on that transition program. And as young people, as young students at that time, we said no. Along with other civil society activists, people like Gani Fahimi, our incumbent president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was driven to exile, several other pro-democracy activists, and everybody, Nigerians, for the first time, rose up. It was a revolution. And for a sitting president to hurriedly hand over power and run away, it was because of the pressure. The students, we just pray for the repose of the soul of students that were killed during the struggle. And when I look back, I want to say that there is great hope for Nigeria. The resilience which Nigerians showed during the June 12th struggle, it gives me hope that one day, most of the challenges we are facing today, we will overcome them. Because it shows that Nigeria, the greatness of this country, across all divide, Nigerians collectively spoke, and the voice was very, very loud.
The voice was loud. It was a collective. You were in government then, and let me ask you one thing. Personally, what does June 12 signify to you and to the Nigerian nation as you knew it then?
Well, I am sad. And let me start by saying I'm really very sad. June 12, we cannot be celebrating June 12 without celebrating the lessons of June 12. For me, June 12 was actually the symbolism of our desire to build a nation. A nation is not just the geographical boundary of a country. A nation is a collection of people with shared values. People that, come together to understand each other and to want to live together within a certain parameters of values. Now that was, for me, that was June 12th. And that was Abiola contested with Tofa. Tofa is from Kano. Abiola won Kano. That was the kind of national integration that June 12th signifies. Why am I sad? We're moving away from that. Today, Nigeria had never been more divided than we are today. Anybody that tells you we are united is only saying so because he wants to say so. But we are more divided than we have ever been in our history. Along our natural fault lines and along new social realities we are creating. For example, our education system now is creating two parallel types of elite citizens. The poor going to schools that are either public schools that are poorly managed, the rich going to schools that are private schools that are better, right up to the university. At the end of this day, we're creating two sets of elites. One is an elite that is actually angry because of a lot of deprivations along the way as as they're getting educated, and then another that is over-pampered and privileged. If you noticed, both of them, when they converge at leadership position, they don't think about this country. The ones that have been deprived, when they reach leadership position, their thinking is how they can make up for the lost life that they have lived. The ones that are privileged, when they reach leadership position, is how they can maintain the privileges they enjoy. The toy cars they play with, the holidays they are. So at the end of the day, it is the national resources that is maintaining this lifestyle that may not help this country to develop. So I'm looking at it now. We have 26 years of unbroken democracy. Who should be the legacy of our Democracy Day? We should be celebrating 26 years of unbroken democracy. But look at it very closely. What are the benefits of these 26 years of unbroken democracy? I've already told you what we're doing. We are building a society that is increasingly becoming divided socially. Unless we reverse, we may end up with a society that will never replicate June 12th, no matter what happens, unless we reverse the course. Now look at it from the political angle. We're building a political system on a political party system that does not even have ideology. We have matured enough to have had political parties with distinct characters, with ideologies, with internal democracy that we can rely on to build a democratic culture. But we're not building that. We're just having the political parties are just like revolving doors in the same building. You can enter here and come out and enter here, do whatever you like. And this does not connote the growth of democracy. Now, on the infrastructure front, how can we have 26 years of unbroken democracy and we still don't have electricity, stable electricity? We're celebrating 5,000 megawatts. What the hell? For our population. No, let's be honest. So we need to start recalibrating. We're still building roads. 1999, campaign was I'll build road for you. Till today, campaign is I'll build roads for you. Why are we there now? We entered democracy in 1999 with our own airline. Now what we have is a ghost airline, which was handed over to us by the last government, an airline that had never existed. We're moving. Now, in the economy, there were decisions that were taken in the last 2 years that we would have taken since 1999. Our economy would have been set by today. So at least we took these decisions now. Painful as they are, these were decisions we should have taken long ago so as to recalibrate our economy and arrive at where we are. So I look at it, 26 years of democracy. There is only one area that you could not dispute. That under the military rule, a minister once told us that telephone was not for the poor. Today, no minister will tell you that, nobody in Nigeria will tell you that telephone is not for the poor. At least that is one dividend that we will all agree that arose out of 26 years of democracy. And I pray that collectively, first we reorient ourselves and begin to think about the divisions that we are promoting within our society to bring us together. And then secondly, whether we feel okay with it or not, we must begin to support the president, consolidate on the economic reforms. If it's hardship, we've already suffered the hardship of it. We may exit out of this hardship and begin to build a more resilient and sustainable economy that will work for everybody. That is the thing, that's what we owe ourselves as a people.
Okay, thank you very much, Ahmed Sajo, for your perspective there. Now, let's go to Comrade Issa Aremu in Geneva, and let's get your perspective on the June 12 from the labor aspects.
Once again, I want to say Happy Democracy Day. And I think you and Juma, you qualify as the Democracy Day anchor. I think it's significant. I share the perspective of the last speaker. And I think your background tape says it all, that we have cause to celebrate in the sense that in 2018, the former president, Muhammad Buhari, demonstrated, of common statesmanship to put a closure to the saga of June 12 by recognizing officially that the election in 1993 was the freest and the fairest election we've had since independence, and that Chief Moshood Abiola conclusively, won the election, and posthumously he was honored with the highest honor in the land, DCFR, and of course you also know that the National Stadium was named after him. So I think we can also say we are celebrating effectively. I think from 2018, we can talk of almost about 7 years of official acknowledgement of June 12 as a real Democracy Day. I was a member of the 2014 National Conference under President Goodluck Jonathan. And we had a consensus that it was wrong, for President Obasanjo to have declared May 29th Democracy Day, because it's of no symbolic value, I'm happy that President Buhari reversed that, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had kept faith with the fact that this is real Democracy Day. And we also quickly rub it in. I've written in the past, how do we celebrate democracy? I think the best way to celebrate democracy is to be on duty, because the anti-democratic forces, they are also on duty. I never believe we should even declare official public holiday. We should work. So I was happy to hear that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has cancelled the parade. To defend democracy, we need to be vigilant. We need to be at work. I look forward to his address today, with the joint sittings of the National Assembly. I mean, to defend democracy, we need to work more. Nigeria is really underperforming in terms of productivity. And to deepen democracy, we need to really be on duty. In fact, that 1993 election wouldn't have been cancelled. Salido, you agree with me? If we allow anti-democratic forces to do all the chicanery, the notorious court induction that stopped the election from taking place, and there was stuff behind the scenes that carry out eventually that led to the annulment. So I'm happy that today, no parade, but the president will be addressing the joint assembly. So in summary, my quick take is to say that why not? Because that election was annulled, criminally annulled, unacceptably annulled. We'll have been talking of 32 years of uninterrupted democracy, but nonetheless, I think 26 years of democracy is remarkable. Don't forget that we spent close to 29 years of our nationhood after independence under the military, effectively. So for those who are a bit impatient that things are not as perfect as they expect, we should look at our history to say that 55 years of independence, we spent close to almost 30 years under the military. And which is quite sad because it was the Democrats, the civilians, the Tafawa Balewas, the Zik of Africa, the chief of Obafemi Awolowo, Malam Aminu Kano. They are the Democrats who fought for independence. But unfortunately, the reactionary backward coup of 1966 put us on reverse gear. And later on, after the unfortunate civil war, we returned back to democracy in 1979, only for the military to intervene again. The vicious circle. So I think I want to say that it's important that we're celebrating today. Let me also quickly wrap up on this note to say that if you look at the numbers, I went to INEC website. Demola and Juma, it's very remarkable. Nigeria has 93 million registered voters, 176 polling booths, 19 registered political parties. I mean, this is the democracy destination, the largest in Africa, So we've come a long way. I mean, if you take 93 million registered voters, that's almost 3 times the size of Ghana. We've conducted almost about 7 presidential elections, if you take it from 1999, 2003, up to date, and regardless of the challenges, we produce presidents along that line. A president actually died in office, may still rest in peace. That's the late President Yaradua, and we also use constitutional democratic process, to do that smooth transition. We shouldn't take that for granted. That tells you the progress we've made. And President Goodluck Jonathan, lost election in office. He graciously agreed to concede to the winners. So I think we've come a long way, and the only way we can consolidate this democracy is to deepen democracy further. Nobody should ever take us back to the dark days of unelectable, military leaders who really underdeveloped Nigeria. I mean, look at all the key achievements we've recorded since independence. They came under a democratic process. I can tell you that for sure. From the point of view of labor, I think, Juma, you raised that point. We've signed 6 national minimum wage. They are all acts of parliament. Military never allowed for negotiation for national minimum wage. The first one was under Shagari, 1981, ably led that time by Alhaji Hassan Sumanu, the pioneer president of NSC. And we had the whole stagnation because after military intervention, we couldn't negotiate until President Olusegun Obasanjo returned back as civilians, and Conrad and Sushumule engaged him, and we raised the minimum wage. Then later on, Jonathan went along that line. President Buhari also, moved it to, I think, 18,000, or to 30,000. And now we've engaged with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, not only committed to minimum wage, but he's even talking of living wage. So what I'm saying here is that democracy gives us freedom of association, freedom of assembly, and I think we shouldn't take this for granted. I know of a Nobel Prize winner, Saint-Martin, of Nobel Prize 1988. He defined development as freedom, and for some of us who have lived under the military, who really went through all sorts of trauma, non-funding of public institutions, repression of protesters, and co. I mean, I can say ably that, it has to be fought over with democratic process. Of course, this democracy needs quality control, and I think I agree with the last commentator that development should be the end of democratic process. And there's a lot that for us to do, but even at that, I think we should also look at what is on ground, what we've gotten done so far. I mean, look at the way President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has, creatively moved out of the subsidy scam, mess, with democratic engagement. Of course, there are a lot of protests, and some of us had reservation the way it's been done. But today, we can see the benefit of it. Resources have been freed, for states, for all sorts of projects that couldn't have been done before, and then discussions also continues under it. That's why workers said, okay, now you've removed subsidy, prices have gone up, let's negotiate for new minimum wage. And I'm happy for the first time we have the minimum wage that has reduced the 5-year cycle to 3-year cycle. So in the next 2 years, we're going for new round of negotiations. So I really want to say that, I mean, with time when we discuss further, we can rather improve on this democratic process. Maybe the quick one that we had is that we need more gender balance. I mean, I'm really shocked that out of 109 senators, you know, we have only 4 women senators. Out of the 360
happening, but we still expect more. We still expect more. Like we said, this is a special edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I'll be touching on some studios, you know, from the network studios to the National Assembly, so that we can be able to meet our guests. And don't forget, you can contribute to this conversation with your text messages. We'll be expecting your text messages to come in. Now we have to hook up with Victor Azu in our network studio, and he has some guests there. Victor Azu, my question to you is, good morning, happy Democracy Day. Where were you on June 12th?
It's good to see you, and from this end, I think we're swapping places today. You asked me where I was on June 12, 1993. I was in Lagos, which was the epicenter of June 12 and all that it embodied and still embodies. I was a student at the time, and I remember when the protests broke after the annulment, I had to trek from Lagos mainland, precisely the Butemeta axis where I schooled, to Surulere where I lived, because there was nothing moving, not commercial, not private, you couldn't move. So I walked all the way, and if you ask me if I was a participant, well, this is my own participation. Thank you very much, Jumai and Ademola, for the part you play in this morning. Well, we have here an array of guests here in the studio. Let me begin. We have 2 gentlemen and a lady. Let me begin by introducing first Jamiu Abiola, who is a senior special assistant to the president on linguistics and foreign matters. He's also a son of the acclaimed winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. Jamiu, it's a pleasure, as always, to welcome you to NTA Studios.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
All right. Let me also welcome Oluwafemi John Adebayo, who is head of research and strategy at Kimpact Development Initiative, a non-governmental organization focused on promoting good governance, democratic rights, public policy, and civic engagement. A pleasure to welcome you too.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And lastly, but by no means the least, Ejiro Mukoro joins us. She's author of Distortion and executive director at Light Ray Media. Ejiro, good to see you again.
It's a pleasure being here on this very important day.
Okay, let me begin with Jamiu. June 12, 1993. Of course, your late father, MKO Abiola, embodies, you know, the June 12 commemoration as it is. Would you say that after all these years, I think 30-something years, would you say that the essence of the day and its symbolisms are still here with us, or they've become lost on us?
I'll say that they're still here with us, and it's work in the progress. You know, it's like June 12 was born on June 12, 1993. And just like you're a father, I'm sure, or like parents, you know, you give birth to a child, you know, the day you give birth is not the end of the story. It keeps going more and more so that the child can become an adult and they can become who you want he or she to become. So June 12 is work in the progress, and from one administration to another administration. You know that after the June 12 crisis, there was a military intervention for almost 6 years. It was till 1999, May 29, to be precise, when democracy finally came. So from the June 12 till May 29, 1999, it was almost 6 years, and that now represented the struggle. So we are now looking from 1999 upwards, and we've seen democracy has thrived in terms of, like, we have opposition democracy, we had the PDP, we now have the APC, and we have you know, a dialogue, you know, as like even now, the current president, he's not a dictator. He allows people to voice their opinion. Nobody has been arrested for saying something contrary to the government of the day. So it is a work in the progress. And we know that as time goes on, it's going to keep getting better and better. The most important thing is for us not to do like what some other African countries did, where some very, very ambitious people in the military now took over and ended the democratic process. As long as we keep trying and yes keeps going, we will definitely get to where we want to be democratically. So yes, to answer your question in a nutshell, June 12th, yes, we're achieving what we wanted to achieve, the democratic process, but we need more time for it to get to the promised land.
All right, thank you very much, Jamiu Abiola, for your opening salvo. Let me get to Ejiro Bukoro. Now, in your assessment, what has been these 26 years of uninterrupted democracy like? Of course, some will say we are not where we ought to be, but then we are not where we used to be. What's your assessment?
Economically speaking, I don't think we have moved in the inches that we deserve to be at, for many reasons. A situation where our Nigerian youthful population, millions of them are out of job. There's this conversation about being a graduate and deciding to run on ideas or begging to survive. The fact that we're having that conversation in this 22nd century, as I would like to describe it, where digital age, right, has become the way to leverage life, to exceed, to succeed. Do we have the digital infrastructure in Nigeria that enables that? We don't. Do we have the capacity when it comes to the learning skills, the expertise, the knowledge, the spaces that allows our young people to dive deep into all of this area? You're talking about robotics. You're talking about science and development. You're talking about the entire STEM system. We don't have that in Nigeria. Then you look at the Nigerian, what will I call it? I'm not trying to be very negative. I'm
Because
just
I'll
putting the
also try
context
to
in
ask
economics.
you to hold your gun, hold your bullets, because this is just a teaser.
Okay.
And we'll also come to Oluwafemi much later.
Okay.
Just to say that our National Assembly studios is up and running now. Fisayo Ogufuyi is standing by there. I guess we can see him. Fisayo Ogufuyi is standing by, getting set to do his thing. But for now, we will just head back to the Good Morning Nigeria studios where we have Jumai and Ademola, so that much later when we get back here, we can have Lady E unleash all that she has in her pouch or where. Take it away, Jumai.
A pouch, I carry a big bag so that when I get money to fill up. Thank you so much for the opening comments there in the network studio from our guest, and I believe Fisayo will be ready any moment from now and they will be hooking up with him. But let's return to the studio.
But you see, Jumai, yes. I still want us to go back to Victor there so that we can have the perspective of John Adebayo, who is the head research and strategic impact. Let's have your own perspective on what June 12 is all about.
Something that is very key for us to understand. No matter how beautiful we all look at democracy, because it gives us our freedom, it helps us to express ourselves. It's also very important for us to understand that it is fragile. Every democracy in the world, either advanced or nascent, it needs to be nurtured and protected. That's what matters. We also understand that one of the things that I know that is the hallmark of June 12 is also the importance, the fact that unity is possible in the country. I've heard comment, and I think the guest in the other studio had rightly mentioned today the aspect of even having the Muslim ticket, and across the divide of the country, both the North and the South really voted to say this is the person we want, regardless of ethnicity, religion, we were not divided along those lines as we have as of today. If we look at it also, we also need to understand that as much as possible, in line with the aspect of protecting democracy, there is still a need to ensure that we keep it safe so that there is no interference from the military world. June 12 also embodies what personally I call the spirit of activism. I also heard when you were speaking, just shortly, you were speaking about how the protest broke out. One of the things I also understood about June 12 is how Nigerians, especially civil society activists, live up to expectation to ensure that the message is clear, that this election was free and fair, or was adjudged to be free, or maybe the most free and the fairest of all. I think one important aspect for me, again, which is like the fifth lesson for June 12 for someone like me, is the importance of a credible election. If that election wasn't credible, I don't believe it will have this much of support, this form of the way everybody queue behind June 12 to say this is what June 12 stands for: democracy. It stands for free and fair election. I remember the conversation around option A4 being the system that was used in conducting the elections. And for me, coming to the current contemporary days now, with the recent way we practice democracy, I will start with the same elections. I think for me, I don't think I've witnessed, at least I've witnessed since 1999 about 3 electoral cycles, and I've actively participated in it. And for me, I think I've not really seen that kind of picture in a recent election. So for me, these are some of the things regarding June 12 for me, and the lessons I think came out from there.
And you'll tell us the rest of it when we return.
Of course.
Much later. So Ademola, it's over to you.
Coming back to the studio here, and we still have our guest seated in the studio. Dr. Omale, my question to you is, how did the annulment of the June 12th election, affect public trust in government?
Yeah, it significantly impacted on public trust. This is because with the struggle for the revalidation of the election, which forced a lot of protests across the country, and the way and manner in which the military muzzled the civil population, a lot of people were disenchanted with the democratic system. And that was what culminated in 1998 when the Abdul Salam government began the transition that ushered in this republic. You saw the quality of those that emerged. A lot of people were apprehensive. Oh, is this thing going to work? Is it not going to work? So at the end of the day, most of the in 1999, most of the leadership that emerged, I'm sorry to say, was not the first 11 that we envisaged, because many people were very skeptical and they withdrew. People never believed that the military was really very interested in handing over civilian government. So most people were very, very skeptical. But it happened. 1999 ushered in the Fourth Republic. And just like Issa Aremu has said, 26 years going, a lot has happened. Nigeria definitely of 2025 is not Nigeria of 1999. A lot has happened. The development may not be as we have wished, but certainly we have had movement. Now, what are these developments that are very critical and instructive? Number one, off-cycle elections have held. We have seen the Obasanjo regime for 8 years. We have seen Yar'Adua, Jonathan regime. We have seen the various regimes, and we have seen the National Assembly has been very active. A lot of legislation has been passed. So in the 26 years of democracy that we have had in Nigeria, a lot of leadership recruitment has happened. Don't forget that the military regimes are just like an oligarchic form of government with just few persons sitting down to take decisions.
The Provisional Ruling Council.
Yeah, the Armed Forces Ruling Council, or Provisional Ruling Council, as they call it. And they are just like 10 or 15, they sit down, they just bring out, but consistently, We have had robust debates at the National Assembly. We have had the judiciary has been playing its active role, the executive system. So we have seen that consistently democracy has taken root. What is democracy? It's participation of the people. We have, just like one of the speakers said right now, we have had our challenges, no doubt, especially in terms of election. Dr. Sajo spoke about ideology of political parties. Yes, the SDP-NRC was a military legislation, though one was a little to the right and the other a little to the left. But essentially, it was formed by the military. And what we crave for now is that having come this far.
Okay. Dr. Male, we just want to have a pause now. Let's have a feel of what is happening at the National Assembly. Fisayo Ogufi is there. Fisayo, tell us what exactly is on ground there. How is June 12th?
Well, you must have just caught me waving at some members of the National Assembly. I think I saw my representative there. So, but that's just by the way. Let me quickly tell you that it's looking like a procession of Democrats who have, been a part of the Nigerian democratic process. I'll welcome two of them into this set just now. Reverend Waive is right here representing the people of Udu, Ughelli North and South, and we have our guest, Professor Adeniyi. Please, gentlemen, just join me on set. You are live on the Nigerian Television Authority. You are dressed for this occasion. Reverend, I would first start with you. What does a day like this mean to you? Having seen the Nigerian struggle in the past to entrench democracy and democratic principles, first, in our administrative processes and in the consciousness of the people.
Well, having been a student union president during the military era, and having seen the battles that it took to get ourselves free from that and entrench democracy, today is a day of celebration as far as I'm concerned. And to God's glory, we've had it for 26 unbroken years. It's worth celebrating.
All right, Prof, I think you should just flank me so that it will be easier for me to, exchange the mics. Like I said, Reverend Waive is here in the 10th Assembly. Let me come to you as, a reporter. Those days, when you were in Abuja covering the general elections in 1993, yeah. I guess. Tell us a little bit about the ambience at that time and seeing how the nation has doggedly stood by that date, and today is symbolic in the history of the nation.
Symbolic indeed. Today is a memorable day, no doubt. It's a day where you just recollect the trials of the past, under the military, the rigmarole of the transition period as it then was, and the fact that democracy downed, was battered in 1999 was a major relief. And the fact again is that it's been sustained for 26 years. Excellent, excellent experience in terms of longevity. But like we keep saying, yes, longevity, we can commend ourselves. But in terms of at the level of character, value, and virtue that we inject into it, we still know that we still have a journey. We still have some miles to cover in that regard. But so far, it's been so good.
All right, so far so good. Right behind me, you will see, the dome, which a lot of people say is the House of the Nigerian people, the bastion of democracy. That is the National Assembly. This is a member all the way from Delta State. Tomorrow, incidentally, the 10th Assembly also will be celebrating its second year, which is, also was celebrating. Yeah. But talking about your interaction with the people, have you been able to bring to bear why they sent you here? And that is why we are also talking about democracy.
Of course, I came back from my constituency just last night. That's to tell you the amount of involvement. We have to carry the people along. That's why you get re-elected. But then the key thing is that you deliver the dividend of democracy to your people. They see good governance, their voices are heard here in Abuja, and then their needs are reflected in the national budget. And did they get excited about democracy? It's not that we have achieved everything yet, but this is a huge progress from what it was during the military. And we hope that things will only get better. For the National Assembly, tomorrow we celebrate the midterm for this 10th Assembly. And we're looking at all that we have done. We've done well for Nigeria, the Students' Loan Act, the Minimum Wage Act, you can go on, the tax reform bills, which we think will be signed any minute from now. And then the Appropriation Acts, we've done them on good time and done well for Nigeria. Our oversight has yielded a lot of results. So we are proud members of the 10th Assembly.
All right, so talking about the, cordial exchange between the executive and the legislative arm of government, in a few short hours, we'll be expecting the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to come and address the joint assembly, the joint session of the National Assembly right here. What will be your expectation in terms of that session? We know that the President himself is a Democrat, was part of the struggle for this date. So tell us a bit about your expectation from the perspective of an academic and of course Nigerians in general.
Well, I think it should come more like a State of the Nation address. The President should tell us what he has done in the last 2 years. From the perspective of the legislature, we just had the representative now trying to capture it. And from the perspective of the executive, we expect the President to be on top of it, to let us know, yes, we are aware of some of these things, but we need to hear from him. Then make projections on the more things that he needs to do or that he wants to do in another 2 years. And of course, allay the fears of the Nigerian people, the concerns of the citizens, on some basic things, cost of living crisis, increase inflation, and some of the many things around insecurity, around joblessness, around the exportation of our capital. All these concerning things, should be under the purview. The President should be able to cover these things for us. Yes, in the last 2 years there have been challenges. What more will he do to cushion the pains, the anguish of the people, as the case could be?
All right. This is, of course, the National Assembly arm of the Good Morning Nigeria program. Of course, is a fluid one. Today will be in National Assembly and, of course, in different parts of the country, reflecting on this date and its significance in the Nigerian democratic process. Also, we will be having thoughts from the civil society angle. We have guests here, including Amsfree Ajanaku, getting ready and raring to go. And of course, we have been enjoying the pleasure of Honorable Member and Reverend Francis Waive here. I will be getting others to also talk on this date. I will be handing over to my constituency in the Good Morning Nigeria studio with House Leader Ademola Adeoye anchoring.
Yes, the House Leader is here.
Thank you very much, Fisayo. You made me the House Leader now. Maybe you have to. I have to have some. What is it called now? Budget.
Yes.
All right.
Constituency allowance.
Constituency allowance.
And we are part of the constituency.
Thank you, Fisayo, for giving us an update there. We'll return to you later, at least to give us more update of what is happening there, especially when the president arrives. Thank you.
We have text messages that came in.
We have text messages.
Yes, we have text messages.
I just wanted him to just land.
Okay, that's what
on his,
Yes, what I was saying before the short interlude is that democracy, 26 years of democracy, has really, we have really experienced a lot of progress. If for nothing, as I was saying, the periodic elections has enabled people to participate. There are challenges of vote buying, there are challenges of cutthroat, do or die politics, there are challenges of political party manipulations and so on. But it's part of the process. We believe that it will get better as time goes on. And people will be able to hold their leaders more accountable. People will be able to hold their leaders more accountable. But the worst form of democracy is still far better than any form of military regime. And that is why we will say that we have made a lot of progress. Now,
we have made a lot of progress. I want to pause you there because, you know, we have so many guests and we have to apportion, you know, some time for each of them. But we have some, you know, comments that are coming from some of our viewers, which I want Ahmed Sajo to respond to. One says, one major area for improvement is the inclusion of women in our Senate. Moreover, our currency woes and technological shortcomings are concerning. We are not reaping the benefit of technology in our electoral processes, which could help us choose leaders that truly represent us. This from Davies. And this one says, today we celebrate our nation's freedom and progress. While we still have work to do, our uninterrupted democratic process is a significant milestone. Let's acknowledge the strides we have made and continue striving for a brighter future. Cheers to Nigeria's resilience and determination. It's from Chikeze, Warri, Delta State. Ahmed, earlier on you talked about, you know, that June 12 was like unity in diversity. Now, how do we leverage on that in this present dispensation?
Yeah, I think we need to begin to identify the gaps in our democratic journey. And those gaps are the things that can strengthen our democracy. First and foremost, there's a huge quantum of trust deficit in governance. Okay. We need to bridge it. People must appreciate that government is their own government. But that's one way. Secondly, we need to improve on the quality of our electoral process. We need people to begin to believe. Issa Aremu said we have 90-something million
93 million registered voters.
Yes. But if you see the actual people that go out to vote, very dismal, because people still believe that their votes will not count. One of the things that helped us in June 12 was that the votes counted. And that's why they could not be manipulated to the extent that, you know, a candidate from Ogun will defeat a candidate from Kano in Kano. You know, so we need to improve that. Then the other thing we need to improve is inclusion. When people talk about inclusion, you're not talking about just, you know, National Assembly or wherever, or women. No, inclusion. Inclusion means inclusion. You know, you have gender, you have generational, you have people who have one or two other challenges, people who are challenged somehow, physically or otherwise. You know, we need to have an inclusive government so that everybody is on the table. But most importantly, and this is key, and this is where some of us are really, really concerned. You know, a democracy is a system of government that ensures a shared prosperity among the people. Shared prosperity with an expanded window of opportunity. If you close the window of opportunity, people begin to think that, you know, the future is too bleak for them. You end up with the situation we are having today. Brain drain, japa, all that are signs of people protesting, you know, limitations of opportunities for them to express themselves. High level of unemployment is because opportunities are not there for people to be employed. The economy must be so robust that it can attract investment to a large extent and create avenues for people to be employed. And then, like Issa Aremu said, and I'm saying it again, that a good system is a system that is productive. We need to be productive. Now, how do we share our prosperity? Let people begin to believe that Nigeria can provide for everybody. It's not necessarily, you know, the one we're seeing now, that you go and distribute palliative to people. It doesn't work. What works is you create opportunities for people to provide for themselves. Okay. So we need to have shared prosperity, expanded opportunities. We need to have inclusion in the system, in the way we run our system, more women in the executive arm of government, more women in the legislative arm of government. If the legislature is by election, and you say maybe women are not struggling enough to be elected, what happens for those that are appointed? Ministers, commissioners, heads of parliament. Why can't we begin to turn the conversation around percentages? Okay, from the next the government that we're going to form, women must constitute such a number of percentage in all the appointments we're going to give. So let us begin to have them. Then let us say, look, people who are challenged physically, you know, they are not mentally challenged, they're just physically challenged. There are some of them that are far better than those of us that are walking, looking normal, you know. Why can't we say we are expanding opportunities for them so that they can participate in governance? Because they are the ones that will help their own kind. A woman, for example, no matter how much education you can be the best gynecologist in this world, you can never describe pregnancy or childbirth. It's only a woman that experiences it can describe it correctly.
Okay,
okay.
Ahmed, okay,
Exactly.
you cannot. Jumai can describe it.
Of course, I like the fact that you said that women should have opportunities, and women. People say women are not struggling enough, but when it comes to gathering women to line up on election day to go and vote, you see more than 30 women before you see 5 men, and women are just used to vote, but they are not qualified for elective office, and that is somewhere that area that President Tinubu is working on, yes, and with the support of the First Lady.
So we are not sharing prosperity.
Yes, the UN women are working hard to ensure that women get the seats they deserve. So we'll take a break right now. When we return, our conversation will continue. Don't go away.
From the ballot box to infrastructure, stronger institutions, and a brighter tomorrow. Democracy, it's not just about voting, it's about reforms that last, justice that works, and policies that empower. As Nigeria celebrates 26 years of democracy, it's time to consolidate the gains and embrace the necessity of enduring reforms. From transparency in governance, social interventions, increased state allocations, local government autonomy to student loans, healthcare incentives, and inclusive governance, every reform matters. Let's build a Nigeria where democracy works for everyone. A Nigeria where progress is not a promise, but a reality. A Nigeria consolidating on the gains of democracy, necessity of enduring reforms. This message is brought to you by the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Nigeria's 26th Democracy Day celebration.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses, and of course harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening. But that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of skills in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
Welcome back, and you're watching the special edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Today we're celebrating Democracy Day, June 12th, and I have some Nigerians who want to contribute to this conversation through text messages. Let me quickly go to the first one there. He said, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to all Nigerians on this special occasion of Democracy Day. Today reminds us of our collective journey, the progress we've made, and the future we all must build together. And another one said, my message to fellow Nigerians is simple but powerful. Let us be prayerful, support our leaders, and offer constructive, reasonable advice rather than instigating crisis or spreading division. Nation building is a process, and with patience, unity, and faith, we will surely get it right. Another one said, may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's coming from Obieto Ahmed Abdul Aziz from Kogi State. I have another one. My contribution to the current discussion is to advise our leaders to put the interest of Nigeria and Nigerians forward. It is time for us as a country to take bold steps and decisions that would activate development. The country needs the support of the citizens. Let's support our leaders and pray for the country. After all, we don't have any other place to call our home. Nice deliberations. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria. And once again, happy Democracy Day. Dr. Kwalapo Kadri Aboyomi, he sent the message from Abuja here. Let's quickly go to Comrade Isa Aremu, who is joining us from Geneva, Switzerland. Comrade, if you can hear me. Okay, Comrade, you've been listening to the conversation in all the studios, from the National Assembly to the network studios and here in the Good Morning Nigeria studio. Still talking about June 12th. It's a collective. And I remember when June 12th went haywire and Butrus Gali said, if there's a God, that God exist in Nigeria, because despite everything, Nigerians stood firm and resilient, and Nigeria moved forward. Now, let's talk about the June 12th and the free and fair elections, accountability, the popular will of the people. Is that philosophy still being upheld today in Nigeria, in our democratic process?
Well, I think it's an open-ended question for all of us to reflect upon, But I think Alhaji Salido made a very good point that we have this high registered number of voters in the country, but how many really come out to come and vote and demand for accountability? The last election, we had about 26% turnout rate, but that's also very big. That comes to about 24 million people that voted. That's if you take Togo, Benin Republic, combined together. That figure is enough. It makes up about 2 or 3 smaller countries in Africa. So it's significant, but we can have more. And I think talking about June 12th, the June 12th was just the anticlimax. It took a lot of non-state institutions like organized labor, women's society, the youth, who have really engaged with IBB prolonged, transition program. Don't forget that IBB transition program started as early as 1986. It set up political bureau, to debate about philosophy for Nigeria, what should be the ideologies. Later on, we formed a committee to see how we can form new parties, In fact, at that time, organized labor floated the idea of Labour Party, which was ranked about number 11. And later on, it cancelled the parties. It formed one party officially, Social Democratic Party to the left, and the NRC, Nigerian Republican, Congress to the right. But in all these processes, organized labor, and I was at the heart of it together with notable labor leaders like Franco Kuri, Comrade Oshomole, Adams Oshomole. Of course, you have the late Pascal Bafiao, and it's interesting. In fact, Chief Abiola had wanted to pick Pascal Bafiao as his running mate. It's now history because there are a lot of debate that if he had possibly picked somebody from organized labor, maybe that election would not have been whimsically annulled the way it was. But even at that, organized labor mobilized for us to keep faith, to vote, to police the vote. That's why I'm going that this our democratic process can only be sustainable if we also encourage non-state institutions, like organized labor, women's societies, youth to also be, more active, politically engaged. And they should not just be voting cows. Juma, I heard the women are always line up to come and vote. Market women, if I only know women on the eve of elections, market women, why would market women only be voting? Why would they not be in the parliament? Why can they not be voted for? Why would Juma only be talking about democratic process when she can go to represent a constituency? So what I'm saying here is that we should also draw on the rich, resources that we have in the civil society. I take NSC, for instance. NSC, I think in the next 2 years, will be organizing the 14th delegate conference, which means that over the years, NSC has been conducting elections to elect leaders who lead them. TUC too, I think they just did the 8th Congress. I think they moved from 3 years to 4 years, So if we are looking at holistically democratic process in Nigeria, I think beyond the state actors of elected president, governors, the deputy governors, and of course the legislators, we should also look at vibrant institutions that nurture democracy, like organized labor, and see what they are doing over the years. They've tried very well, they've done so, but also know there are challenges in recent time, especially with the economic crisis. And I think that's where the message of the late Chief Mashood Abiola, resonates today, because his campaign was based on fairway to poverty. I mean, he wanted to also make sure we demand for reparation for Nigerians, given the way we've gone through slavery and colonialism. Of course, that what did not go down to the people in the West. But today, we're asking for debt forgiveness. We ask for favorable policies. They all draw from those inspiration that he inspired. So I really want to add to say that we need to really make sure our civil society gets more vibrant more than ever before. Then lastly, the political parties. And I think Salido also made that point. We have 18 registered political parties, but the difference is not as clear, unlike the Second Republic. Second Republic, we had the 4 or 5 parties, you remember. We have the National Party of Nigeria. You know what it stood for? Housing for all. You have UPN, which stood for education, I guess so, free education. You have People Redemption Party of Malam Aminu Kano, which talks of, fighting against poverty, uplifting the Talakawas. These are ideologically driven political parties. So as we are debating today, there's a lot of anxiety about whether we are moving to one party state rather than multi-partyism, I don't have fear about that because our constitution is clear. It allows for more parties to be in existence. But the one that is worrisome to me is that whether it's one party, what is the ideological drive? And I think this is where we need to do quality control of our parties. I'm happy the ruling party is thinking about that. They now have a whole school, to promote progressive ideas and ideologies, even as people defend to these parties, I think we should look at what is their democratic progressive credentials. This is the way we need to go. No country moves without having strong political parties driven by philosophies and ideas. And Nigeria has a long history of party formations. As far back as 1922, that's the first political party of the late Aban Macaulay, the Nigerian Democratic Party, was in existence. And that party was driven by vision of the need to liberate Nigeria from colonial rule, and later on transformed to NCNC, which in turn, led by Zik or, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and later on Chief Abubakar, they all joined Ahmadu Bello. They had vision of patriotism to run the country. I think this is the right time to reset Nigeria along the vision of Chief Moshood Abiola at that time. And I'm happy President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been very conscious, talking of progressivism. We are taking some bold moves now, to really make sure that we think big. We shouldn't be development shy. If you look at the Calabar Coastal, the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road, that's the way we need to think big, to really transform Nigeria. And in the process, where you spend out of.
Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you for your contribution there. Is this the time for us to begin to reset our democracy in line with the virtues of June 12? Let's come back to our studio. Like we told you earlier, that the program this morning is a special program, and we have our other studio there where Victor, we're going to go to Victor now so that we can interact with some of the guests there. Victor, okay, they are with us? Yeah, Victor, I just want to throw a question to Ejiro Omukoro, because we're talking about, the guests have talked about the need for us to strengthen the democratic process, currently that we are currently on now, and promote inclusivity in every sphere. So how do you think that we can bring in citizens, civil society to work together with government, to strengthen Nigeria's democratic process?
Good one, because it all begins with the kind of social contract that we have signed as a people. And the social contract begins with the Nigerian Constitution. And the Nigerian Constitution clearly states from Section 22 and Section 39 that the Nigerian citizen have a right, fundamental right, one, to express themselves, fundamental right to freedom of information and access, and the fundamental right to fight for all their human rights. And in the compendium of all the conversation of human rights, you have things like inclusivity, you have things like good governance. A situation where in Nigeria, the only conversation we really have is about government, which means structures, renaming places here and there. Those are not important conversations. What we should be looking at is governance that involves the specificities of processes, of policies that are designed, engineered, and executed for the definite direct target it is meant for. A situation where, for example, we've been fighting for the equality gender bill. You look at countries like Rwanda, you look at Botswana, you go to Namibia, you see these African countries that Nigerians like to boast towards and say we're bigger than them. Look at Kenya, go to Kenya. I've been to these countries, and one of the things I found very astounding about them is the fact that they understand that politics is about the inclusivity of a philosophical framework, a philosophy of ideas that are so diversified that allows for the inclusion of various parties, for the inclusions of various citizens, which means young people, women, as well as men, all have an equal say, including children. The other day I was asking a very important question. For us to progress forward, we need to define Who is a Nigerian? What is the definition of the value of a Nigerian? The fact that we are talking about the divisiveness in Nigeria, the fact that we're also talking about the state of insecurity in the spirits, in the souls of Nigeria, that is an indication that tells us that we're not even started to scratch the surface. And in scratching that surface, we must come to a collective psychological acceptance that this place called Nigeria is for Nigerians. And the definition and value of a Nigerian should be defined, one, through the way we treat security issues. You talk about democracy. Democracy exists when people understand that there are structures to it, there are processes to it, and there are frameworks that exist to enable them function. We talk about rule of law. We talk about transparency. We talk about accountability. We talk about a situation where civil society have the right to speak inherent. We have the Nigerian National Human Rights Commission today. Lately, they came out with data that shows that the rate at which the Nigerian space is operating with the respect for the human rights of Nigerians is below par. And that is in reference to where you look at places like Rwanda that understood that for you to elevate and navigate the gender space, you have to introduce, right, an affirmative action. And this is where our gender bills need to be reviewed and executed in a manner that does not show we are delaying. We support democracy, which is the inclusion of various voices. So right now, as we speak, as Nigerians, we should be looking at how do we make our legislative arm, the executive, the judiciary, work functionally. I did a research recently, and one of the things I found is that many of the Nigerian civil servants who are in charge of government places, government structures, and government efficient practices, right, they make a complaint that they are not enabled enough. They are not engaged enough. They are not allowed to do the job expected of them. And then you look at the Nigerian Civil Service Code. Many of them, sometimes you look at it and you ask yourself, do they even understand the job they're supposed to do? So a situation where the various arms of government, whether they're agencies, parastatals, or MDAs, as they might be called these days, whatever they are, if people do not understand the inherent contribution that they're supposed to do, a situation where civil servants no longer do the job, but aides of politicians do the job meant for the civil service to cohesively work so that the outcomes that we deserve for the kind of democracy we seek should be happening. In Nigeria, we have a situation where the psyche of a Nigerian has to be reviewed. How do I mean? We have the strong man mentality. We have the divide and rule mentality. We have the winner takes it all mentality. We see it play in our politics as subtly but as penetrative as it can be. In other words, when you create a society, a democracy that is defined by how much one person can take control of spaces, control of the mobilization, control of the resources, control of power, then we are no longer having a democracy. We do not need to deceive ourselves on that. In a country where gas, mineral resources, in the northern part of Nigeria, I mean, they're shipping a lot of lithium from northern part of Nigeria. We're seeing the gas wastage in Delta State, for example, from Ndukwa to Otu Jeremy to Isoko land. You see all of this waste happening. You go to other parts of Nigeria, Enugu, for example, that used to be known as a coal city. In China today, as we speak, they have understood that every form of civilization that has ever happened, every form of industrialization that has ever occurred, they never killed anyone. In parts of China, you will see where they allowed certain places to operate as coal energy-driven centers. There are other places that are empowered by wind energy production. There are other places empowered by electronic or electric means of generating electricity. In other places, too, you have where they use diesel or CNGs rather. In Nigeria, what do we have? How does it take a country 60 plus years and we cannot, in one city in Nigeria, in one village in Nigeria, in one community in Nigeria, say that there is electricity 24/7? A country like Nigeria, with oil and gas, we are rationing electricity. Who does that? A country with so much high solar power compared to any other countries you can think of, and yet we are complaining about electricity. The recent bill that the electricity bill that was, put into space and supposed to be domesticated by various state governments. What are the various state governments doing? And this is where the citizens ought to understand their role in governance. It means you engage the process. It means you critique, you question. But we cannot use things like the Cyber Act crime to try to muzzle Nigerians. It's about Criminality is about fraud online. It cannot affect the Nigerian Constitution, Section 22 and Section 39, that makes it clear that every Nigerian has a right to express their opinion because it is allowed. A situation where we are in a country where freedom of information, freedom of expression is being denied the citizen, that is not a democracy. We need to get that right. And we need to move beyond all of this conversation to understand that our next generation of young children should know that Nigeria is a country where agriculture is elevated. We don't have agriculture in this country. I mean, how do you have a country where food is scarce? Why must food be expensive? You look at the exchange rate in Nigeria. I mean, it's a shame to us. You look at visas, you want to apply for visas to other countries, and you ask yourself, how did we get, or how did I get to be in Nigeria, in a Nigerian space where I have to apply for visas to over 157 countries, or 127 countries, as the case may be? All because my government, the kind of governance we run in this country, makes us below par to others who should not even contest with us.